feel the magic in the air. Cards on the table, let the spirits take you there. Aeson's got the insight, Joe's teching up the show. Sip that truth, honey, let the mystic wisdom flow. Oh, ooh, it's the Sidekick Coffee Shop, where the vibes are high and the tea gets hot. Mystic minds with a little sass, talking life, the stars and shadows past. From tarot spreads to future sights, we're spilling secrets left and right. So grab your cup, let's take a ride on this cosmic caffeinated guide. Yun, ooh, it's the Sidekick Coffee Shop.
Good evening and welcome to Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course I'm sitting down with the cubby with most of us. Techie Joe, how are you, baby?
Little Hurdy had a very productive Monday that has turned into a less productive Tuesday.
That's okay. We're still rocking and clocking, but energy has been off for sure.
Yes, and we forgot the show comments on stage. So, hi, Brenda.
Hello, Brenda. How are you, darling?
Oh,
It has been a week, and we ain't even through with it.
I never.
Yeah. All right. So with that, let's kind of dive in. Like astrology is really big right now, but let's go talk about the CIA and what the hell they've been up to for years now, and no one's listened.
Oh, we're leading with the CIA. All right. So the Independent brings us CIA found the Ark of the Covenant by using psychics to classify files claim. Remote viewer number 32 allegedly uncovered the gold-plated chest believed to house the Ten Commandments. So declassified CIA documents claim that the mystical Ark of the Covenant was located by a psychic decades ago in the Middle East as part of one of the intelligence agency's experimental secret projects in the 1980s. The Ark of the Covenant was thrust back into the spotlight as globetrotting archaeologist Indiana Jones attempted to uncover the artifact in Steven Spielberg's 1981 Oscar-winning Raiders of the Lost Ark. According to Jewish and Christian tradition, the gold-plated wooden chest housed the two tablets bearing the Ten Commandments, which God, in theology, gave to Moses between the 13th and 16th centuries BC. The CIA conducted experiments as part of the secret project Sunstreak with individuals known as remote viewers, a type of clairvoyant who claim they could project their consciousness to receive information about faraway objects. There is no credible scientific evidence that remote viewing exists, and it is generally regarded as pseudoscience. In a remote viewing session on December 5th, 1988, remote viewer number 32 was tasked with identifying the coveted Ark, according to CIA documents recently circulating on social media. The documents were first declassified in August 2000. They allegedly did not know the object they were being tasked to find. The psychic described a location in the Middle East that they claimed housed the object and said it was being protected by entities, says the CIA document. Target is a container. This container has another container inside of it. The target is fashioned of wood, gold, and silver, they said, allegedly not knowing they were trying to find the Ark. Similar in shape to a coffin and is decorated with seraphim. The classified document shows several pages of drawings depicting one of the four seraphims standing out on the corners of the Ark, along with a drawing of mummies lined up on a wall. So visuals of surrounding buildings indicated the presence of mosque domes, they added. They said the object was hidden underground in dark, wet conditions. There is an aspect of spirituality, information, lessons, and the historical knowledge far beyond what we now know, remote viewer number 32 continued. They described the Ark as being protected by entities that would destroy individuals who attempted to damage the object. The target is protected by entities and can only be opened by those who are authorized to do so. This container cannot be opened until the time is deemed correct, the remote viewer continued. Individuals opening the container by prying or striking are destroyed by the container's protectors through the use of a power unknown to us. When a remote viewer is tasked with locating an object, the information is written down on paper and placed into an envelope. Joe McMoneagle, a U.S. Army chief warrant officer and the first person to do remote viewing for the CIA, told the New York Post that they allegedly do not know what was scrawled down and are guided through the process by another person. However, Mr. McMoneagle does not believe that this remote viewing case is worth the paper it is written on, claiming the session is bogus. If someone claims that remote viewing proves the existence of something, such as the Ark of the Covenant, they must produce the Ark to substantiate their claim, he added. So, yeah.
So why are we not going underneath the dome in the mosque and collecting it is my question, but that's also because they most likely already have it.
Well, either that or just the realities of, like, did you not hear the part where people get destroyed if they try to do shit to the Ark before the Ark wants to be done with?
Right. And it will take a distinct DNA to access the information.
Well, there you go. So, I don't know. Maybe they've been running a long-term, 40-year project of, like, send this one in, see if they survive.
Right.
Just, every, like, year or so. Just run them through.
Yeah. But, yeah. This is very common. Like, this was a lot of Operation Blue Book. This, like, their favorite was remote viewing. But remote viewing in general is very much more technical than a lot of the reports say, because they did not want to, like, how do you describe a guy sitting in a recliner, holding an envelope and then seeing the picture of where it's at and then describing it? It was used when we had the Iran-Contra affair. For those that don't know, a remote viewer actually was the one that located the hostages and gave them basically the coordinates. So this doesn't surprise me. Does it surprise you?
A little.
Okay.
Mostly just the fact that I mean, not. I guess not so much even that the remote viewer found it. I think it's more so the as fabled and as long, because we are talking 12th and 13th BC.
Right.
As long as people have been looking for it, it's right there with the Holy Grail, literally, figuratively, in items that everyone has tried to find.
Right.
And so after a while, it does almost become, questionable. Does it even exist?
It does. I think it very much still does. The Holy Grail, the original Holy Grail, I don't think exists because the person is dead.
Okay.
And
well, what I was more so getting at is then there becomes the question of, is it what we think it is?
Right.
As in, did the remote viewer actually see the Ark? Does the Ark actually exist? And is that the actual Ark?
Okay.
Because here's the reality, and with many things that are especially things that are very old and very coveted, often comes the idea of, is there more than one? Are there false versions? And does that, necessarily equate to what we think it is?
Yeah.
Because again, it's a very long history for an object to have.
Right.
And over time,
Mm-hmm.
that story can morph.
Right.
It could literally be, a block of wood with some gold and silver, and there's basically overglorified rocks inside.
Correct.
Is well, and I don't mean that even disrespectfully. I know it's a very important artifact for a lot of people. But what I mean is that if you're making, duplicates,
Mm-hmm.
that could be a lot of things. And did this viewer find the right arc? As in, again, over time, some very, important artifacts tend to end up with duplications. Other people trying to sell the idea that they have the one. And so at what point can you even verify that this is the one and not just
Well, and if we, granted, I have other ideas on what the ark is or what the ark was, and there is a documented ark that Queen of Sheba took back to Ethiopia. That is one of the arks. I think this is the Ark of the Covenant they're looking for.
Oh yeah, so Brenda says a few conspiracy theories about what it is too. Interesting rabbit hole. One interesting one was that it's a portable power supply. That's what killed people when it was open.
Right.
Meanwhile, I mean, Duracell will love the technology if it is still capable of killing people.
Mm-hmm. Well, uranium would do that. I'll be right back. I gotta throw the dog out.
Right. And that's also some of the where the mythology is going to start coming in. Is how much of this is some great, wonderful, amazing, proof of a higher being, and how much of it is kids with a chemistry set they don't understand. That between the 12th and 13th BC and now, that's a lot of scientific progression of understanding for what would have looked like a great supernatural power then. But may not even be at dangerous levels now, if we are talking about something like radiation, may not be something at dangerous levels now.
Right. But it could actually still be at very dangerous levels. But I find it interesting, and we're going to have to play my rabbit hole of connections to get to where I'm headed to.
Okay.
All right. Iran has one of the deepest wells of uranium available. We know that the Jewish traditions were there. We know that that is part of where they constructed and built things, and Iran and Israel are very close to each other. Gold and uranium tend to occur within the same lines of things in that area. You expose someone to uranium and they die. Kind of play into that mythos for a little bit of like, just exactly what were those tablets carved out of, and exactly how are they striking people dead?
Well, yeah, and how much of it, yeah. And is it as immediate as it seems? Is it long term, sort of like Pharaoh's curses that get talked about at these legendary epic? You don't work on the pyramids without dying. You don't work on X, Y, and Z without dying. And again, it doesn't even have to be necessarily uranium.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm sure there are viruses and bacteria, not yet
Uh-huh.
currently documented,
Uh-huh.
that given the kind of half-lives that we see of these things,
Uh-huh.
could continue indefinitely.
Right.
Or you could have things like ricin.
Right.
If anyone remembers their 80s, and like anyone else feel like quicksand, ricin poisoning
Uh-huh.
were like, these were staples of the 80s. If
Yeah.
you grew up in the 80s, everyone died in quicksand or ricin. We were taught way too much to avoid both. And I swear to God, it is way less of a life problem than people made it out to be.
Well, and it's like, one of the money spells is to paint your a mailbox with a basil tea. Well, in the 80s, we had to change that up because when basil tea dries, it becomes a white powder. Your mailman gets very nervous about this.
Yeah. There's things that make your mailman very twitchy. Um,
Hmm.
any kind of white powder,
Right.
really. Um, yeah, quicksand was not as much of a threat as we were led to believe. It's like, what the hell? Like, such a staple of our childhood education in the 80s.
Right.
Like, it was so important to be able to get out of quicksand. But then there, anthrax, ricin, like there were all these horrible poisons, and then there was like Ted Kaczynski and that whole arc of like mail
Hmm.
bombs and package bombs, and like. Can I just point out? I don't think anyone wanted to open their mailbox in the 80s. They were just like, you know what? I can do without.
Right.
It was just like no one checked their mail. Just don't check your mail.
Do you think that's probably why we have such trouble checking the mail?
I think it sits there in our heads, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, very much so.
You
It's
know
like,
what I
well,
mean? Like,
no.
it was such, like, these were huge things going on, seemingly
Hmm. Hmm.
every week, that like people were sending letters laced with white powders, and whether or not it was, ricin or anthrax or whatever,
Hmm.
it was causing enough national attention
Hmm.
that, I mean, I like there. And speaking of working in environments in which things happen, um, working for a debt collections agency, it really is one of the concerns, because you
Uh-huh.
want to talk about suspicious packages. You
Hmm.
get some things that throw up to your that show up to your debt collections office. By the way,
Hmm.
a lot of people are not very happy about paying bills. So, and I've heard that it also extends to other companies as well, not just your debt collections, but any like utility, anyone charging a lot. Yeah. Oh yeah, and we were going to survive the apocalypse under a school desk. Yeah. That was the 90s, really. Like,
Right.
I mean, that was late 80s for me, but yeah, we were going to survive, nuclear war under our school desk. Like, that was a shield of protection just in case.
Right.
And it's like, by the time we got out of the 90s, those desks were so cheap and flimsy that
Right.
you weren't going to survive a falling celotex. Like, there's little squares in the for the drop ceilings. Yeah, if one of those falls, those desks weren't surviving. Like,
Right.
no, they were garbage. So I don't know when. Like, to me, that's when we stopped caring about children and education in the U.S.
Right.
We started making crappy desks, going, or you'll die.
Right.
That's it. That's just
That's
that.
it.
Because we were supposed to survive nuclear holocaust, tornadoes, hurricanes, active shooters. Because, by the way, and that's actually a real one that's still ongoing. But that we digress.
Right.
Yeah, But no, I mean, so like that was a big part of like our mentality from like the 80s, from the news cycle. People were putting all kinds of anything that looked like a white powder in envelopes just to
Right.
cause a problem.
Right.
Didn't have to be, but it would end up on the nightly news. And
Mhm.
like later reports, maybe if they bothered to do them, it was like, someone got ticked and put some flour in an envelope just to make someone's day suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, but now it's made the nightly news cycle. Now we've, had, anthrax or whatever populate our brain again.
Mhm.
Like, thanks for that. So yeah, your threat worked. You did what you wanted to do, but you took a bunch of other people with you
Right.
because now you've stressed them out about the idea of like, oh my God, this could happen anywhere. Because it
Mhm.
did. It started happening at like utility companies, neighbors you didn't like, businesses you didn't like.
Right.
I mean, well, and then there was the rash of like poison pen letters,
Mhm.
the anonymous letters where you start telling secrets
Mhm.
to the people that the secrets are about.
That was in Circleville, Ohio.
Yes. Well, but how many other rashes of this did it create?
Well, true. Or inspire.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Became a very heavy plot device for a lot of late 80s entertainment.
Well, that, but it also like sent a man to jail for multiple years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And were they ever actually sure he did it?
No, he was proven to be not guilty.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's what I thought. I thought that was the added later layer to it was, and then
Mhm.
yeah, so wasn't even guilty.
Yeah, wasn't
Uh,
even guilty. Sent him to jail. Sent him to jail, and he was in jail for years. And the poison pen letters kept going.
oh yeah. So yeah, you have your poisoning, your bombings, your um what else? Your poison pen bombings, your poisoning,
Mhm.
and then like it was nuts.
Well, it was nuts. And then you had things like
Oh yeah,
suddenly we
cheese
couldn't use
letters.
styrofoam.
Oh yeah, couldn't use Terraform.
That was
That's
destroying the planet. Aquanet was destroying the ozone.
yeah,
Having hair that wouldn't move for a week was destroying the ozone.
yeah. So we went from just don't leave home, the
Mm-hmm.
American Depressed motto,
Mm-hmm.
to the home is not safe. And there was
Right.
that whole like again horrible. I mean, they were true, but still horrible time in like the 80s and 90s
Mm-hmm.
of all of these homeborne chemicals were
Mm-hmm.
bad for you. It wasn't safe to clean your home.
Right.
It wasn't safe to buy new stuff for your home. The stuff
Mm-hmm.
in your home was going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we found out, well, early 80s, we were finding out how bad asbestos and mesothelioma was.
Right.
We found out how bad formaldehyde was.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, just don't move.
Right.
Everything's going to kill you. And it was a big staple in news reporting.
Well,
Was
and
like
we're
a
still
new
getting
home
better.
terror that is going to kill you tonight at 11.
Yeah.
I mean, like, no,
Right.
stop.
Well, it's like everything now causes cancer. Don't care what it is. Milk causes cancer. Eggs cause cancer. And it's like, can you just get back to it's a DNA modulational problem?
I mean, well, in that some of the products that we consume as part of our normal diet,
Mm-hmm.
we're probably consuming in excess.
Right.
Like, let's just be clear. In addition to, we are probably we have become the most sedentary we have ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Because welcome to modern life, there's not a lot we have to do. We have more hours to be productive. Thank you, electricity. We have more ways to be productive. Thank you, computers and technology. And we are the most capable of traveling we have ever been. Like we're literally sending billionaires into the sky just because we can. Not enough to the bottom of the ocean, but a lot of them up in the air.
That's okay. We can send them up to space. They can go to Mars. Like, just ship them to Mars. They will find what they created there 3,000 years ago. Just move to it.
Yes, on the USS no backsies. So
Yes.
the Martians can't send them back, just like no backsies. And then
Please, the nuclear war there destroyed every living being on that planet. Just ship them over so they understand what they're playing with.
Well, but if it didn't, how mad are the Martians going to be? The few surviving Martians that now have to deal with U.S. billionaires.
It would be useful.
World billionaires.
Yes.
Like, they may not be able to mount a war, but they're going to be really unpleasant.
Oh, please, they can throw rocks at them.
Fair. That works.
Yeah. Take my hairspray, but keep nuclear weapons. I tell you, that is a statement and a half.
But what we're getting at basically is just in our lifetime, the things that were horrible dangers and even with things like formaldehyde and formaldehyde, thalidomide, there's another one. And what did the Marvin the Martian do to you, Aeson?
He did not provide me a ray gun.
There's another staple of like my parents' generation. Was the ray gun and the atomic age, and we're all going to be nuclear powered everything, and flying cars. We were going to have flying cars. I want to know who the hell watched people drive and went, yeah, we should do this in 3 dimensions.
Well, I think it would be easier for them in 3 dimensions because now I can go above them and over top of them quite faster.
I know, right? And that's the problem. Is you take away the roads and do it in 3 dimensions. Let's see how long till they collide. Yeah, it's not gonna.
Just get me my teleporter so I can literally say, "Hey Google, beam me up," and I can get the hell out of here.
Fair enough. You're waiting for the day she replies with, "Okay." Okay. We'll just send you. But no, just focusing on our 40 some years. The things that we were awed by, that became threats to our life, that were supposedly these massive things. We'll get to that comment in a second. But no, these horrible things that occurred in our life that were spectacular, that were awe-inspiring, that, oh my God, this just, what do you do with that? And just in 40 years, they're not even things we normally, like, I'm not necessarily thinking about anthrax when I go to my mailbox.
Right.
I'm not. But yes, so Brenda says the Jetsons, Joe. Imagine Aeson in a flying car. I already have. I can tell you that once we purchase a flying car, Rebecca cancels our insurance.
Well,
outright, entirely.
Speaking of Rebecca, I may or may not have already driven a car flying in air. I can neither confirm nor deny that Country Club, the one you love to take that has the up and down quickly, I may or may not have experienced air during that 60-mile-an-hour trip.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Don't do that.
Not in this one.
Oh, no. No.
Well, this one holds to the ground too much.
But no, I mean, just so when you think about something built or at least became a thing in the 12, 13th BC, that's a long time. That is like tons of like knowledge advancement.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Or,
And so we have this idea through like written accounts and so to speak historical gossip of what it is and how amazing it'll be. And it's like, yeah, there are a lot of things that were amazing in the 12th and 13th BC that just, a couple hundred years later, people in the 12th and 13th BC would have been like, that's pretty cool.
well, true,
So
and
comparatively, how would we actually react to, a wooden box covered in, gold and silver that may glow because of, God only knows what. Because remember, we did also at one point in our U.S. history paint watch faces with iridium.
true, that would be lovely to have a glow-in-the-dark watch, but not worth the cost of it. But also,
But
if you
if
look
someone inadvertently figured this out, because you're talking about uranium, I'm sitting here going, well, there's also iridium.
true,
Similar things, similar
the
problems.
reason I say uranium though instead of the glow-in-the-dark thing is because the priest had to wear a breastplate to enter the chamber, and the breastplate had to be specifically made with the specific crystals and the specific balance of gold, which also had lead in it because it's the time of a season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Maria.
Hello, Maria.
But yeah, no, but iridium is the same protections needed.
Right.
It would be the same.
Yeah.
Your death quotient is a little slower.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately,
well, depending on concentration.
If it's something the size of a coffin and you wanted it to be like, oh, and you coated it with iridium, that's a lot of iridium.
And that's what I'm saying. It was depending on the concentration of iridium. You also have to understand the tablets are in there, so we do not know what those tablets are made of. All they ever say is stone. The cloth and the staff of Abraham, and we know that staff would be at least 6 foot long. So we're going to go, I'll go 7 foot on average, and we'll go 3 to 5 foot wide because we know it was carried by 6 people. So that means that the poles were 6 people wide. So yeah, you've got a coffin there.
Well, and our people got bigger. Can we also remember that?
Yeah.
Like, we've grown a lot in just the last 2,000 years.
We've grown a lot in the past 100 years.
Yeah. I mean, and that's better health, better medicine, better nutrition, better everything got better. And so we got bigger. We got taller. Especially because we are healthier and we're not killed off by things that take some penicillin.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're not being killed off quite as much as we used to be.
Right. But we also have to debate. You made comments about advanced technology, that we've advanced in technology. I question that. Okay. I question that because if we look at the builds that we have during that time, They still can't figure out how the pyramids were built. It's much more than pulleys. There's debate on sound and the use of sound that we haven't even gotten to yet. And working with the frequency, they're making the stone lighter, or working with the frequency that makes the stone, move easier.
Well, but it's also in the context of the modern world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, again, just even within our lifetime, the things that we did them as a human society, as a human race, or just even the last 100 or so years.
Right.
Like, who thought twice about, experimenting with the atomic bomb?
Albert Einstein thought at least for 6 months about it.
Okay, but you get what I'm saying,
right?
Is yeah, there was consideration of the horrible, deadly power that it would be, and the usage of it on a major city or whatever. But in the actual experimentation,
right,
in the lead up to the final product, there wasn't a whole lot of thought given to the people that were doing this, and what are you handling, and how harmful is this, and what is this going to look like in 50, 60, 70 years?
Right.
And what is this going to do to your testing ground? And will anyone ever be able to live there again?
No. They knew that. That's why they chose that Pacific island to test it.
Well, yeah, but even then, I don't think they thought it was going to be as bad as it was.
I think they thought, 100 years, and this uninhabited island will be nothing. Will be fine. Yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll work that out later.
Right.
Like, we'll work that out later.
Details. No one pays attention to details.
Annoying details. But if you started trying to do that, even in middle of West Virginia today, holy shit, the problems you would have. So imagine trying to experiment with sound to lift giant boulders. Typically, you're going to be in an area that already has giant boulders. Do you really? Really want to start playing with technology to do that when you don't know how it's going to work?
Right.
Yeah, speaking of details, we're in the wrong seats, and that is because StreamYard is having an issue. They are working on it, and right now we can't swap where we're sitting.
Exactly. We got assigned seats, and his is not that comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm used to looking one way to face him. Now I'm having to look another. Anyhow,
it is weird.
It is super weird. But, we haven't even experienced, like, sound healing they've played with, but we've not really played with using frequencies to affect matter to move it.
Right. But when you, if you're building the pyramids, do you think anyone building a pyramid at that point in history was giving a shit about the little people?
Well, of course they would not have given a shit about the little people or the cause.
And they were in the middle of a desert.
Mild tropical area, yes.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to topple all that many mountains in ways that were going to be all of that impactful. Like, you got a pile of rubble over there. It's fine. Well,
Yeah.
Details.
Like, let's play with this technology that we don't know nothing about. Oh, yeah, the U.S. does it all the time. If anyone gets interested in details to play with, I see that there's an app now for the Shockey experiment.
For the what?
the Shockey experiment, the one where you put earphones on, frequencies played, and you have you basically have red light in your face.
Okay.
Okay, and it's distorted because you take and you put the golf balls over your eyes and have them taped. They've created apps to do this, and I am like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that
Try
is
this
like,
at home.
no, do not try this at home. Like,
Yeah.
that is one of those psychic experiments that you have like 5 people handling you.
Not something you really want to do in your armchair or recliner.
No, and you want
Or
things like
fun.
secured, like weaponry. You want, and they're advertising it for sleep meditation, and I'm like, excuse me? Tell me you did not read the manual without telling me you did not read the manual. Furthermore, you didn't do this experiment on yourself. Oh, it helps you sleep. Yeah, right. It helps you hallucinate, go into a trance situation, and you might sleep, or you may decide to take on astral beings on the physical realm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but it's also right there in line with like propofol.
Yeah.
If y'all don't remember, that's what killed Michael Jackson, was an acute overdose of propofol, which, if you're not familiar, is basically what they knock you out with for surgery.
Right.
So,
Right.
if that's what you're having to do to get a good night's rest, you have big problems.
Right.
Massive
Like,
problems.
let's start addressing the bio clock to begin with.
Yeah. Lots of things have gone wrong, is what we're getting at. This is not your, like, well, I was having a little trouble sleeping and I couldn't decide between trying some melatonin, propofol, and this.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, majorly different. Like, no. This should not be as easy to buy as melatonin gummies.
Preferably not, especially since melatonin gummies are shit. But anyhow.
No, but still.
Yeah.
But still.
All right. So let's take on that 11th house, one of the most complicated houses in astrology.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we get some cosmopolitan here. So all about the 11th house in astrology. Let's take a walk out back for a minute, past the formality of the front door, beyond the curated entry of your identity, and into the backyard. The backyard is where people gather, not just close friends, but neighbors, friends of your friends, your roommate's coworker who brought homemade guac. It's the in-between space. Part private, part public. It's not where everyone is invited inside, but where people are welcome to linger. Maybe there's music playing, maybe someone's lighting a lemon-scented candle, maybe someone just watered the garden. You're wearing something soft and comfortable, something that doesn't need to impress. It's casual, but it matters. This is a setting where connections form that don't need to be intimate to be impactful. This is the energy of the 11th house. In astrology, the 11th house governs community, not the chosen family intimacy of the 4th house or the romantic bonds of the 7th house, but something wider and looser in form. Networks, collectives, circles of shared interests. The 11th house is where we encounter the people who help us realize our dreams, even if they never make it past the threshold into our inner sanctum. It's the space of aligned vision, mutual momentum, and collaborative manifestation. Think of it like this. Your goals are the seeds, your community is the soil, and the 11th house is the garden where they meet. It's not always glamorous. It's weeding, watering, listening, adjusting the sunlight. It's showing up when it's not convenient. It's asking for help. It's finding yourself in conversation with someone who sees the bigger picture the way you do, even if your paths only briefly intersect. Some people will come and go, drifting through your life with a purpose that only becomes clear in hindsight. Others will stay long enough to co-create something meaningful, but no matter the length or depth, each connection has its place. The 11th house reminds us that we were never meant to do it all alone.
Right.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right
This
out
is
there.
one of the yeah, this is one of those houses that not a lot of people pay attention to. But this is the house of like, where do you live and what do you do there? Because the 10th house is your career.
Which neighborhood like?
Yeah.
It's not, you know what I mean? It more so breaks down to, this isn't about like your love life. This isn't about, you know, the other houses.
Right.
That are very, you know, like, what's your room at your house? Who are you in bed with in that house? This is, what's the neighborhood like? You know, do you lock your doors? Do you, you know, is it gated? Like, who are you surrounded in a greater sense with?
Right.
And it's that same rationality of like, gee, why did inner city youth end up in prison? I don't know. Their entire community is geared towards the idea that they are criminals and need to go to prison. Like, all of their opportunities are negative.
Right. But I don't think that a lot of people pay attention enough to the 11th house when they're looking at, like, why am I surrounded by Virgos? Well, I don't know. Where's your 11th house? Virgo.
I wonder why there's all these Virgos.
Yeah. What's in the 11th house? Because this is also how you deal with community. Like, are you a leader? Maybe Jupiter is setting your 11th house. Are you the one that's on the planning committee that has everything so organized that you make everyone else cringe as you walk through with your agenda?
Or if Aries is in your 11th house, you're probably burning it all down.
Yes.
You're a little Nero.
With gasoline.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Because the Aries there would probably cause you to have everything burned to the ground. But it's going to be a metamorphosis, Phoenix rising from the ashes kind of burn.
Exactly. You know, Aries always has too many irons in the fire. And you have to look at what's going on in that community to see where things are. That's where you're also going to find your leadership, in my opinion, your leadership skills. There's a big debate about that. Oh, no, that's in the first house. I see it more in the 11th.
I got a debate with you. It's not that Aries has too many irons in the fire. It's that Aries has too many fires on the iron. That's your real problem. Hey, Jay.
Right. Hey, Jay.
So,
But continue. And, you know, it's kind of like you got to look at where your houses are and how they play out and where they're talking to. Those all get very connectional. And that's why I like the charts that you get from, like, I don't know, Astrocom or Phoenix Rising or whatever. Doesn't have that interpretational list that puts everything where it belongs to.
Okay.
Yeah. It gets complicated. And that's why you should meet with an astrologer and ask them, what's in my 11th house? What community am I building here? Or what bad traits do I have? Like, I don't know, every hobby turns into a business that turns into profit margins.
That drives everyone else around you insane because they would just like a hobby. Thank you.
I
know. Like, I bought a camera to take up photography as a hobby. he starts trying to sell it to everyone. And I'm like,
Hey.
no!
Right.
Not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. This was supposed to be calm and relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
This was not supposed to be stressful and a business.
See, that's just it. I get calm in business. I find
You get calm
relaxation
and money,
in
Scrooge
business. Thank you. I would love to go bathe in it a little while. I am checking that out, Brenda. What is the sun doing this week?
Everything.
Oh, she's having a whole fuck ass time. I'm telling you.
Oh.
Low energy, disconnected, unenthused, uninterested. Definitely solar storm energy. And sun is where? The sun is currently in the sign of Gemini. So what you would do is you would look at what house is in Gemini and what else is in that house. Like, is Mercury in your Gemini house? And that would be like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to, I have no fucking friends. What are you talking about being friends? Yes, that disconnected, that tired energy, that is the solar. Here, bring this question up so I can answer it. That is what's occurring with solar storms. When you have solar storms, you have to look at where the sun is at because it's pitching a fit and throwing glitter all over something. Yes. Where is it at in your chart? Yeah.
So yeah. Well, and it's, you got to remember, it's a solar storm,
right?
So it's a disruption. Storms
right.
are disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we have solar storms, wherever your sun is, that's what's getting disrupted.
Right, and that's where it's going to get disrupted. Yeah. The problem is we can't pre-predict on the astrological level where those solar storms are occurring because that's actually astronomy tying back to astrology. Mm-hmm. Which kind of leads us into our next story.
So let me get over there. So groundbreaking. The James Webb Space Telescope discoveries on WASP 121b set a precedent for future exoplanet studies. So, all right, so the new James Webb Space Telescope observations of exoplanet WASP 121b are contributing valuable clues about how the planet formed from a disk of dust and gas surrounding its parent star. Astronomers Thomas Evan Soma and Cyril Gapp led the team as they unveiled the planet's atmospheric carbon, oxygen, and silicon levels from Webb's water vapor, carbon monoxide, silicon monoxide, and methane detections. One of the most intriguing elements of the observations was something unaccounted for in existing models: the suggestions of strong vertical winds pushing methane around the exoplanet's night side. The near-infrared spectrograph aboard the James Webb Space Telescope provided the data used in the study, observing WASP 121b as its rotation brought different areas of the atmosphere into view. This process is called phase curve observation, with particular attention paid to how brightness fluctuates over time, as alternate views provided the team glimpses of both day and night sides of the planet. Starlight filters as the planet passed in front of its star, providing even further information on the atmospheric makeup. The emerging transmission spectrum confirmed the detections of silicon monoxide, carbon monoxide, and water that were made with the emission data, Gapp said. However, we could not find methane in the transition zone between the day and night side. Detecting silicon monoxide in WASP 121b's atmosphere is groundbreaking, the first conclusive identification of this molecule in any planetary atmosphere, said co-author Dr. Anjali Piet from the University of Birmingham. The successful use of the James Webb Space Telescope to detect these elements and characterize the atmosphere of WASP 121b demonstrates the telescope's capabilities and sets a precedent for future exoplanet studies, added Dr. Piet.
Okay, now we need to tie that into the article I just posted, the Planet X one.
All right, so yeah, did we get to Planet X last week?
No, we did not. That's why we're tying it in, because I wanted to look at to discuss how planets are made versus how they get a twist. And boom, we have this ice rock beyond Neptune indicating something's big out there, which is the dubbed Planet 9. I'm beginning to wonder if Planet 9 isn't having an astrological effect. And we've talked about this gravitational wave thing that goes on.
Yeah, so apparently it's an elusive idea that has long bedeviled scientists. A huge and mysterious planet is lurking in the darkness at the edge of our solar system, evading all of our efforts to spot it. Some astronomers say the strange clustered orbits of icy rocks beyond Neptune indicate that something big is out there, which they have dubbed Planet 9. Now, a U.S.-based trio hunting the elusive world has instead stumbled on what appears to be a new dwarf planet in the solar system's outer reaches. And the existence of the new kid on the block could change the Planet 9 theory, the researchers have calculated. Named 2017 OF201, the new object is roughly 430 miles across, according to a preprint study, which has not been peer-reviewed and was published online last week. That makes it 3 times smaller than Pluto. But that is still big enough to be considered a dwarf planet, led study authors Seung Ching of New Jersey's Institute for Advanced Study told AFP. The object is currently 3 times farther away from Earth than Neptune. Its extremely elongated orbit swings out more than 1,600 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun, taking it into the ring of icy rocks around the solar system called the Oort cloud. It goes so far out it could have passed by stars other than our Sun in the past. During its 25,000-year orbit, the object is only close enough to Earth to be observed around 0.5% of the time, which is roughly a century. Oh, so yeah, it's already getting fainter and fainter. The
Right.
discovery suggests there are many hundreds of similar things on similar orbits in the Kuiper belt beyond Neptune.
Okay, so this is going to make this a century planet. This is something astrology doesn't have. A century planet. This will be interesting, and here's why this will be interesting. One, the leading astrologer will have to sit down and map the change of the centuries with its orbit.
Well, yeah, but you got like 24,900 years to go. I'm sure.
Not really. Not really, because if you go along the astrological theory, that just means this effect is felt 1 century in, and then the retro, because we're going from tropical, so it'll be an oblong view from Earth. So its effect is every century.
But that's a century of duration, wouldn't it be?
Yes.
Oh, talk about throwing your math out the window.
Well, not your math, because it'll be a lot of observing, but it'll have to go back over 25,000 years of observances.
Yeah, I don't think we quite have that.
Yeah, we currently do not have that, or do we have that?
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you take history, and this is the way astrologers will do this, is they will take and they will look at like 300 years.
Mhm.
If we look at repetitive patterns from the 1900s, the 1800s, and the 1700s, this is what we see. We see in the U.S., so we're going to focus on tropical astrology based on you being born in the U.S. These are the things that we see continually over those 300 years. The early 20s and 30s, there's a lot of shift in economy. There's a lot of shift in money. There's also normally a recession. I would say that recession to that century planet would possibly be seen as a retrograde period. Kind of like every time Mercury goes in retrograde, computers get fucked up.
Yeah, but as far away from the Earth as it is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a long distance. Isn't the influence going to be less pronounced
Yes,
than
it's going to
even
be
like a Mercury or a Neptune or, let's not anger the god, the planet Pluto
right.
having a retrograde? That if it's having a retrograde, it's going to be like a on of effect.
Well,
Which can
possibly
be
not, because like right now we're having a Pluto in retrograde, and if everyone looks at world events right now, there's a lot of questioning and a lot of what the fucking, and we're seeing a lot of movement going on. Now, if this holds true, and we had in the 1800s, we had civil wars. In the 1700s, 1776, 1865, and then our lovely, trip to Vietnam in the 60s and 70s. That would say that around 2060 ish, we're going to go ish because it's always metrical, meaning it's not exact timing, and we'll get to that later. There will be a large shift and a large body of conflict.
Fair enough.
And it could be coming from planet X, which I am quite sure, that Desdemona will be happy to take that planet.
Take our planet, please.
Yes. But this will be interesting to see if it gets occurred in my lifetime, because astrology has not changed since the late 1800s when we got rid of two sun signs because it didn't make math. And ruling planets have to be accurate out there.
So more like a death and regeneration planet?
Yep.
Well, Pluto's going to be pissed.
Actually, no, because Pluto isn't death. It is rebirth. It is transformation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But more of a larger, like, ending and regeneration. Well, a larger
Of a generation. Yeah. Yeah.
More on a global scale.
Yeah.
Of
Very much
regeneration,
so.
not on a personal level.
Exactly.
So more so the further the planet is away, the less it has to do with you specifically.
The larger the spread is.
Yeah. The larger, like, communal, global, intergalactic, if we get there, community effect.
Sure.
Of theories or of time period shifting.
Right.
So yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in.
It is, but it would also, justify some of the unknowers that occur with planets, with astrology. Like, why is everything so shitty right now? Well, there's Pluto in retrograde. Jupiter is, pissy because he doesn't like the house he's in. And then, I don't know, there's just this X phase that we can't justify.
Yeah. Meanwhile, 3 galaxies away, some astrologer there is going, oh, for fuck's sake, they just started to really plan for their ninth house or their ninth planet.
Exactly.
Like,
and
ugh.
like, really, like, you guys can't see, like, I can imagine someone, in
Earthlings, they're barely real.
In another galaxy, looking at it and looking at the asteroids that occur, the planets, and like, oh god, can't and there's another larger bodied planet that's in debate and has, like, it's a possibility. Good evening, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
That could be also affecting. So it'll be interesting to watch the next 200 years of astrology catch up to documentation, because if we go back to older astrology, granted, tropical astrology is what I'm talking about. If we go back, there were at one time 1313, that's 26 different sun signs and 26 supposed planets, and the Arabia, what is that?
Vedic?
No, the Arabians. We were just talking about them a minute ago. If we're in Arabia, we are Persia. Astrologers said, all right, we're getting way too complicated with this shit. Let's connect pieces. And that's why, like, you have the eagle, but also the archer that represents some signs, and it's because there were two houses. Now, granted, about 10 years ago, some idiot decided, oh, we need to add another solar, add back one of these. And it's like, no, you don't.
No, you don't. Stop it.
Yeah, it's been voted down by every astrologer. We are not getting that insane. Yeah.
Like, no, that gets a little more persnickety than you need to be.
Exactly. But, that's when you go into degrees and angles and calculate, bring me the calculator out and let's figure out the degree to effect of the effect. But no, this would probably be because your outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, are generational planets. Their effect is felt for a generation. This would be a Centurion planet. Probably one of our first.
Also, an older theory. Mm-hmm. That if you're ever reading your horoscope and you kind of catch this idea that, like, this isn't really where your life is, read the one above it, read the one below it,
mm-hmm.
and then figure out what it would be if you mishmashed the two together.
Mm-hmm.
The one you're technically in,
mm-hmm.
and the preceding or the following.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what it would look like if those two were to combine and have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be more what you need to do to get a little bit closer to where your life is.
Right, especially if you're born within the cusp region, which is a week before the sun the sun packs his bag and goes to the next department, or a week after. You may get caught there. I get a lot of Pisces influence because I am Aries. But I'm an early Aries. I'm in the 27th. Whereas, like, you're full-blooded Cancer.
Yeah,
like,
I'm dead center.
It hits you. Right.
Yeah. But no, like, I wanted to point that out because I remember that being a thing, is that that some people have to kind of, and especially people on a cusp, but others do as well, is that sometimes it just doesn't hit right. Like, this, my astrology is wrong.
And it's like your astrology is a little off.
It's
the astrology isn't well, and see, that's the other thing is, people think it's so simple. It's the 21st of March is when it becomes Aries. Not technically. It may be the 22nd, the 20th, because we're looking at planetary movement, not an Earth-created calendar that has changed multiple times since the system of astrology was created.
Yeah, a lot of things have been tweaked.
Yes.
So you will sometimes find yourself going that like astrology is garbage. My horoscope's never right. Read the
Right.
one above it, read the one below it, figure out what the mid baby is between the three, as in what the mid babies are.
Right.
Like, what were the two influences going on and what are the two influences going on and which one's working closer.
Right.
Okay, then from now on,
Right.
take, if you find that it's the one above, then you take the one above and yours and you kind of slam them together. What are the influences? What do I need to be looking out for?
Right.
Because one of these it's just you're caught in the in-between.
Right. Or order a transit report from me and you'll get your own personal horoscope.
Yeah. Which is always a lot more accurate, but that's,
Exactly.
I mean, if you want to simplify it down, you don't want to send money to Aeson because you don't care if we eat. And that's fine. That's fine. I'll play the violin.
Don't play the violin. That's not even my brand voice.
I'm teasing.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, but you can do it's one of the simple things that instead of buying, expensive costly things, and doing them repetitively, you can also just kind of hack it together a little.
Right.
And figure out, okay, what's actually happening to him.
But it's also to understand, you also have to understand the astrologer system that they use. Example, I use Western Tropical Balanced House System. So that influences the charts, especially when there's like this moment. Like a house, like a planet is 0 degrees of a house.
Which those are always fun to talk about.
They are. They get really created.
Yeah, so Brenda's pointing out his charts are really detailed for the price. I still refer back to them.
Yeah. Yep.
No, they're great. They really are. And I was trying to be facetious because if anyone says I have not eaten properly, there's a problem. Because clearly.
Well, clearly, because I bought you lunch, and if you didn't eat it, that ain't my fault.
I had half of it. It was a lot of lunch.
But since you're being facetious, let's move over and find out if you're the asshole this week.
All right. Fine. We'll do that. Am I the asshole for not stopping my teenage son's girlfriend from kissing him? My 50 son, 17, recently got into a car accident with a drunk driver. I'm very thankful that he is alive, obviously, but his car is totaled. The drunk driver was driving a pickup, and my son drives a small old convertible, most likely the reason for the amount of damage. And he is fairly injured, i.e., multiple breaks, lots of stitches, etc., and is currently recovering. This all occurred last week on Saturday, the night of the accident. My family, my wife, 45, and daughter, 14, got there, I want to say, an hour before his girlfriend. When she came in, she ran to him in his hospital bed and started hugging and kissing him. Mainly lips, but other places on his face too. She stayed for most of the night, checking up on him and being supportive, and I was happy that my son and his girlfriend had such a good relationship. As we were driving home that night, my wife said she was upset. I didn't say anything to my son's girlfriend. I asked why I would have, as she was being a good partner. My wife said that it felt weird seeing that, especially in front of his family. I said that he was going off to college regardless, and that she was being a really nice partner, and that night showed us how much she truly cared for him. She rushed off to work to get there and was still wearing her work clothes as she got there. My wife started getting angrier and said that she thought it was gross and that I should just ask her to leave sometime. I told her that I'm not telling my hospitalized son that I'm taking away something that clearly makes him happy. She told me it was gross and that I needed to put a stop to it. I told her she was worrying about the wrong thing and that anything that brought our son comfort was good. My brother had taken my daughter home before this. She didn't hear us arguing. She told me I needed to step up and do my job. And I've kept thinking about it, and I've started to keep thinking about it and thinking that I am in the wrong. I kind of, sort of, slightly get where mom is coming from, like OP's wife. I kind of get that she's like, he's too young. This is too, like she's acting too much like a wife. And I'm not ready for all this. And this is my baby, and I'm supposed to be the one that's kissing his boo boos. And like, I mean, I get it. Your children are always your babies, and you're especially in times of severe accidents, severe trauma, severe life situations. I think though I'm going with not the asshole.
I'm going with not the asshole also. One, they're 17. He's 17. I'm assuming the girlfriend is 17. She's being a good partner. This is wife material, mother. Grow up. Your little boy's not a little boy.
Yeah, I think she just finally pieced it together.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking she's personally uncomfortable with public displays of affection. They are probably not a very publicly affectionate couple, OP and his wife. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that has more to do with her than him.
Right.
And I think she just got slapped in the face with the realities that, like, my baby is almost a man. Like 99.9.
Already a man.
Well, I mean, legally speaking, he's
right.
Pretty much there. And that, like, very soon she's not going to have that ability to put a foot down. And I think it's in the midst of a horrible incident of getting hit by a drunk driver, and potentially having that scared thought of, like, we're gonna die. You were just not prepared to deal with, like, romantic affection and care and concern from another woman.
Mm-hmm. And like, I think this is just kind of a bad mother-in-law coming up. Like, this is like OP needs to look at his wife and say, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you need to reel it back and realize that we have a nearly adult child.
Right. Like, in a matter of months.
Yeah. Right. And, like, you're just like, I'm sorry, he's out of the bassinet. Cut the cord, lady.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be able to protect him forever. And what are you protecting him from?
Right.
Love and affection. Mm-hmm. Like, I assume the girlfriend was not going overboard beyond, grief-stricken affection and into anything lewd and lascivious here. Mm-hmm. I feel fairly confident that was not the case, and that would have been a moment to have been like, guys, pump the brakes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe OP, the best thing I can suggest, I'm going with not the asshole. I don't think you're misseeing it, but you may want to talk through what your wife's experience was. Mm-hmm. Just in case there's any, like, moment there that got a little lewd and lascivious to her opinion. Right. And that may be more where the problem lies. Mm-hmm. Either you missed something that happened or that was happening that seemed really inappropriate to your wife, and that's fair. Or, because that can happen. Or more likely, you need to have a really long conversation with your wife about her problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the mom is just repressed about emotions and physical expression of them. Brenda's dad's family was.
Yeah, that's common in people that don't do lots of PDA. Like,
Right.
that's the reasoning behind it. But it's like, okay, what's really going on? Because you got issues. These aren't our child's issues, and they weren't my issues to protect him from.
Exactly.
These are your issues that we've never somehow dealt with. That now you're casting onto our son.
Right, and you need to stop quickly before you get wrote up for being a toxic mother-in-law. All right, so the poll is up. I'm going to explain your options because we do have some new viewers. First up is, yep, you're an asshole for not stopping the kisses. Second is, nope, not an asshole. He is 17 years old. I'm quite sure he knows how to pucker himself. Everyone is shitty here, meaning dad should have said something. Mom shouldn't have had to say anything. Girlfriend is an asshole, and the kid laying in the bed is an asshole. Or dill pickle. And dill pickle is this. It means that you're not an asshole, but you're so stuck in a rock and a hard place, you are pickled.
Yes. That's an interesting set of comments. I'm not sure if I'm reading it all.
I wish my son would get kissed 25-year-old. One kiss, he couldn't figure out how to make stuffed shells. He couldn't figure stuffed shells. He couldn't figure out how to put cheese in the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Nancy. That's all I can say on that one. Like, yeah.
All right. So we're going to pop over to Reddit's Ask the Psychic.
All right. So our psychic brings us, can a psychic could be right about their prediction, but wrong about the timeline? I'm curious if this is a thing at all, or if the timeline is supposed to be accurate as well. What do you think?
I think my thing. Okay, first of all, I don't know, a whiteboard here. Here we go. Time is a man's creation. What does that mean? When you deal with tarot, you deal with some of astrology. You deal with predictiveness. Timing is always estimated, and here's why. The spirit world does not operate on time, because if they did, they would know not to show up in my world until midnight. Some psychics, their guides wouldn't clock in till 9 a.m., 9:30 after they get the husband off to work. It doesn't work that way. So is timing supposed to be correct? As close to an estimate as it can be.
Yeah. And sometimes that can be a problem of the psychic giving you the advice and not clarifying that about 2 weeks, about a year, about 6 months, plus or minus. Because when we talk about typically like the reliability of a psychic, timing is sometimes a big part of that.
Right.
And you will see great psychics with informationally 100% accurate.
Right.
Get dinged to hell and back because their time scale is so wonky.
Right.
So they end up with like a reliability of like 85%. They're right.
Right.
But the time scale is going to be wonky.
Right.
It could, like, the plus or minus is huge on it. Then you have psychics that get the same score. Their information is what's off by 15%. So they, again, have an 85% reliability. But their time is set a watch by it, just about.
Right.
Like you're on the right day. Like between midnight and midnight, it will occur. What occurs
Is debatable.
is a little debatable. It's open to interpretation. So when you're seeing reliability, sometimes you really have to take into consideration what all that means.
Yes. Right.
Because you can have two psychics with the exact same reliability scores. Give you totally like close information, but very different. And one's going to nail the day, one's going to nail the events.
Right.
Or you get a mixture. And they're 85%. Again, I'm just using that as an example. Is 7.5% of one and 7.5% of the other. Is you have a 7.5 margin of error on the time, and your details are off by 7.5%.
Right.
Like,
and
you're a little off, but it's close enough. If it occurs, you're gonna. I got you.
Right. And that really depends, because spirit world is A, B, C, D, E, F. Physical world is 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. It's a chain of events, especially in psychic readings. A occurs to B occurs to C. But if you don't do D today, you'll do it tomorrow. Oops, the psychic was wrong. I didn't wash my dishes till Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Psychic wasn't wrong. You decided that you would just take your merry little damn time to get to the point the psychic was looking at.
Yeah. Well, and those are additional factors that can go into your personal experience of a particular psychic's reliability.
Right.
Is if you want to play, stump the psychic, or as we like to call it, psychic games that you always lose. You can do that if that gives you something. You can do that.
And that's also why many psychics have stopped giving timelines. They're like, I'm not getting dinged for that. A lot of psychics, that can give names, have the ability to give names, going, nope, won't do it, because if I say his name is Bob, and you come back and go, his name is Robert.
Well, you have fun with that.
Or,
if 99.9% of people call him Bob, guess what his name is?
Bob.
Guess what his name is?
Yeah.
Just because that's not the legal document. And it can also, it's psychic fuck around and find out. Yeah.
I'm going to start using that one. But no, and this is what psychics stop doing things because they think they're bad at, because of what their feedback says.
Yeah, and it's no, to be honest, like most things in life, and I say that as a business owner, and if my clients are watching, I'm sure they will agree. Sometimes it really is the client is the problem.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I have really great clients. If you're a long-term client of mine, it means you don't have this problem. But I have lost clients over time because it's like, you want to play screwer with me. You want to not listen when I tell you what not to do to your computer. Then you test that assumption at your earliest convenience.
Right.
You go right ahead. You buy, like when I make a computer recommendation and you want to save $500 and you want to go and buy the Walmart special, You have fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
You have fun with that.
Right. Well, and it's like with psychic readings. I have this one client. I will remember this case the day I die. She was so anxious, so anxiety, and so she was in crisis mode every day for about 3 months. She about drove me up 7 walls of Sunday.
Okay.
And every reading would end with, go get your real estate license. I don't know what this is about. You need a real estate license.
I don't
I'm
want to be
calling you.
I don't want to go to a real estate school. I don't want to be an agent. I don't want to.
Well, but she's like, right. But she's like, but I'm calling you about Dave. Name has been changed. I'm not revealing private client information.
Doesn't matter what you're calling about. I'm telling you what you need to do.
Right. And this went on for about, after that 3 months, they were dating. Things were going good. I'd get a call about every 3 months. Every 3 months. Every 3 months. Boom, 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 boom. So finally, Dave gets around to picking up the fucking ring. He had the jeweler for about 6 months. Like, people, there's a good thing I do not have telemetry on your boyfriends, because they would always have a red mark on the back of their neck, because I gips them every time. They slow the fuck down because you're not doing something they need to do. And he proposes. And we had never talked about what Dave did for work. She calls me one day, losing her fucking mind. Now, I'm talking crisis level. What the fuck are we going to do? I have a wedding in a month and $20,000 in bills, and he just lost his job.
Bet you wish you had your real estate license now, don't you?
Well, and I said, so what's he do? Oh, he brokers houses. He goes, what? He brokers houses. And I'm like, and the cards and my guides have been saying for years at this point, go get your real estate license. Well, what's that going to do? Go get your real estate license. Pay attention to the message.
It wasn't what you wanted, but it was what you needed.
She goes, finally listens to me, gets a real estate license in fucking like 3 weeks. Apparently there, all you gotta do is study a book, take a test, here's your license.
Here's your license.
They now own a specialty real estate agency. He does the loans, she does the selling or the buying or whatever. There's shit that I know as a psychic that I don't know when I'm talking. I.e., what that sound is making from
They run a business. It works great. If she had done this sooner.
She's a power couple. He is more confident than he's ever been. Like, the relationship is a fabulous case. But I still say, if she'd back in crisis mode instead of wasting her money and my time reading about what he's doing, went and got her real estate license, that ring would have popped on her finger a lot faster.
Been married sooner.
Exactly.
Just took a real estate license to get a marriage license to get everything you wanted.
Right, because he wanted a full partner, not a at-home partner. And there's men like that. Like they grow up
divergent with careers. I do this. She does something totally different.
Right. Yeah. But when it comes to timing, I always have to estimate how far the action is away from me. Example, when's he going to call? And he's right here. It'll be in a couple days. When's he going to call? And it's out here. You might hear from him next September, honey. Maybe even November. Within. The key word there is within. And what I mean by that is it's from here to there. From watching this podcast to commenting on the show to liking and subscribing. That's within what I want you to do by the time we finish the outtakes. Those are chain actions. Pay attention to the chain actions that need to occur when you're getting a reading. That way you're like, oh, well, that's easy to do. I can unblock his number because I want to call from him, which blocking is like shutting a bathroom door. You got to open it up sometime. Anyhow, especially if you
Or
want him
you
to
have a
call you.
reading and they're asking about their love life, and you're like, call your mother.
Yeah.
And they're like, that has nothing to do with why I'm... Call your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Call your mother.
mother.
Call your mother. Call your mother. It would be the same kind of thing. These two things are not related. Why are you going on about my mama?
Oh, you find out your cell phone isn't working. Ugh.
Or you find out that the moms are best friends. You didn't know
Mhm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you find out that, whatever.
Right.
It's an intervening. Sometimes it's the buy the lottery ticket portion of the thing you want to do is win the lottery, buy a fucking ticket.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always make direct corollary sense that like this has anything to do with that. Sometimes it does. Like if you want to win the lottery, buy a fucking ticket.
Don't ask me for
Very
the
helpful
numbers.
for winning the lottery.
Don't ask me for the numbers.
Yeah. But sometimes it's, go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win the lottery. Go to bed. Don't ask me why I'm telling you to go to bed. I don't understand it any more than you do. I'm telling you what to do. Go do the thing. Just do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do the thing. It is very important that you do the thing.
Mm-hmm. So with that, take all that into consideration. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. I know this was a very heavy theological, astrological-based, discussionary, topical idea, but let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Let's find out if you're the asshole this week.
Am I the asshole?
Ooh. Survey says you are not the asshole, but a third of the people think that you should not be kissing your boyfriend in a hospital bed in your work clothes.
We'll agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
All
right. So with that, take it away, Vanna.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Caitlin Bell, Devin, and Bella. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes, and you guys have a lovely evening.
Absolutely. Good night.
Well, I'm glad you like it in these type of comments. Good night, y'all.
Buckle up, y'all. It's time to drop.